Intersection Magazine Podcast.
Welcome to Intersection Magazine Podcast. My guest today is Doris Odit Acheng. I met Doris or saw Doris speak for the first time about maybe 2-3 years ago at a local event. She gave a presentation on finance and technology and innovation landscape. And I really liked the talk she gave, so followed her up on LinkedIn, started a conversation, featured her in the magazine, and have followed her since. She recently transitioned into a project of her own that she started, Audit Frontier Partners and Advisory Services. So probably talk about a little bit of that to give you guys a rough idea what she's up to. So that's the focus of this episode, as well as some work we're going to be doing in the magazine. So this is a two-pronged approach. There's an interview we'll be having, as well as a feature we'll have for her in the magazine, so that you can get to know a little bit more about the services that they offer and why you should be engaging with them on a deeper level for their services and for professional advice in finance, investment, the whole technology and innovation and landscape. So thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing, and we hope you enjoy this episode. So, Doris, thank you very much for agreeing to be a part of this podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you go to school?
Thank you, Nicholas, for hosting me in the podcast. My primary school, I studied primary school education. For my primary school education, most of it was in Nairobi, Kenya. Where my family was based at the time. So that was up to primary 5. And then primary 5, the family moved back to Ugandan. So then picked up primary 6 and to 7 in Uganda, all the way up to, I'd say, university education. So for my university, I studied from Barry University of Science and Technology. My first degree there was in information technology. So that was my foundation, educational foundation. In terms of schooling afterwards, I pursued, lagged between the bachelor's degree, which was concluded in 2012, and the next degree, which was started in 2015. The postgraduate then was from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, where I pursued an MBA in finance. So that's a bit about my education background.
Okay. At the time that I met you were working for the EAVCA. What was your role there? How long did you work for EAVCA?
I started with the EAVCA, it was a short for the East Africa Venture Capital Association, in 2021, precisely in April. So at the time, they had operations across East Africa, but not physical offices in some of their countries of focus. So the primary office was in Nairobi. And at the time, which was just after COVID, they were looking to set up a branch in Uganda. So I was tasked with setting up the branch from scratch. So did that for 3 years. From 2021, transitioned out of that role as a coordinator in 2024, which is this year.
Okay. So you're pretty much a transitional leader in terms of helping the organization set up and have a presence here. Tell me a little bit about the gap between your time at EAVCA and your study, your time on your bachelor's degree as well as your MBA. What were you doing between those at that period of time?
So I'd say in terms of my core profession, I am a consultant. So management and development consultant. So right after, I was doing my bachelor's degree, there was an overlap. So when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I was also part-time in an NGO in Bara. So it was lectures in the morning and then, work in the afternoon and so on and so forth, depending on the schedules. So volunteered with that NGO it was the entire duration of my bachelor's degree. Immediately after that, then got promoted into a program coordinator. It was an administrator, program administrator, and program coordinator, to be specific. So the NGO was focused on addressing the challenges, development challenges, the critical ones, education was a core theme. So that was through various angles, resolving the skills and education gap, at fundamental level through, connecting children from disadvantaged backgrounds to sponsors and then having them go to schools and progressing at least up to senior 6, which is the basics. And then also attacking the same problem of skills through a vocational training entity. And also understanding that you can solve the challenge of education, particularly in the context of disadvantaged communities, but also you have to address some of the deeply entrenched norms, psychosocial issues. So another component was now also providing psychosocial support to communities to address some of the root causes. So yes, that was my first, exposure to work. So did that in total, including the volunteering duration as well as the full-time job post-graduating. That was 4 years of my life, which was a good contribution, I'd say. And also, I think those were the early beginnings of, trying, the formative years of me trying to understand this problem called socioeconomic development. And that was the first angle from which I attacked it in my career. So after that, learning from that experience, I transitioned. It was a radical transition from NGO and IT training to management consulting. So the NGO that I was working with was based in Western Uganda. I think at the time I took some time off, according to leave. I visited Tanzania, where my sister and father were based during that leave period. During that duration, it was a 1 month leave. I was tasked with doing a small management consulting project, and then that is when I realized, I think this is something I can do. This is something I'm passionate about. Let me take the leap and jump into the unknown. So at the time, my father had been doing consulting for about 30 years. Maybe a little bit under. And he said, yeah, come, let's work. Come shadow me. Let's work together and see what we can do. So that is how I transitioned to management consulting in Tanzania. The time we're offering the full range of services. So I'm what you call a generalist as a consultant. I play in multiple areas.
Okay.
So that's finance, strategy, organizational development, across sectors. So, maybe one project we're doing work for, maybe a business plan or a project investment appraisal for a school that is looking to expand. Another time we were doing a strategy assignment for maybe an airport. Another time we were doing some restructuring, organizational restructuring for an entity. So it was a mix of projects in diverse areas that gave me a chance to look at the world from different perspectives, different sectors. It was an immersive experience. So it was both work and learning. So I did that for 7 years alongside my father, and then transitioned from that to development consulting. So from Tanzania, 2019, moved to Uganda in 2019, and started working with a local consulting firm. Primarily now shifting gear again. Another transition. Shifting gear again because the focus with my managed consulting work in Tanzania was primarily private sector focused. Even where we were working with the public sector, the angle was always how do you deliver public sector services through a private sector lens. So it was always leaning towards that side of thinking. So business growth, access to financing, human resource optimization. Those are the things those were the focus areas. So now transition. Consulting is consulting, but now this was a different type of animal. Because now you're looking less at a micro unit that is called a business or an organization, and now you're looking at entire systems from a development consulting angle. So you're tasked with, for instance, analyzing an agricultural value chain and looking at the entire system from farm to table, and all the nodes that are connected. So policy nodes, support service nodes, financial nodes. Before you get that, or before you are having that cup of coffee, what systems has it gone through for you to have it, and what challenges has each actor been facing in that system for you to have that cup of coffee? Right from the soil, where the farmer is now putting fertilizer, is putting inputs, etc., his own labor, and whoever is applying that all the way up to, it has crossed oceans maybe to go and be processed somewhere, then come back to Uganda. Then so it was now looking less at a single unit and looking at the entire system. Of any. So it was an interesting, again, a transition in terms of the skill set and the learning curve. But also, again, as I said, an immersive learning experience, understanding how systems work and how a small change in one component of a system can affect an entire value chain. So I did that for a little bit under 2 years.
Okay. Let me ask you two questions. The first is a commentary that was circulating a few days ago on social media. There's some conversation going on about how it's a tough time for NGOs in Uganda. And this is because they're putting it because of first and foremost some challenges in the Middle East, challenges in Ukraine and Russia, maybe partially some of what's going on in Sudan as well. And they're being described as funding challenges. So what's your perspective on that? Have you sensed that as a person who was in the NGO?
I saw it 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was just a lagging eventuality. So I think at the time I was transitioning from the NGO world, that was not revealing my age, but that was the time of the Arab Spring. And then the aftermath of the Arab Spring was a huge refugee crisis in the West. And so resources are limited. And that was the most pressing issue of the time, the refugee crisis in the West, resulting from the ripples of that time. And so there was a shift already in, we know that these areas have challenges that we've been helping them with, but it appears a more pressing problem right now is dealing with this emerging issue that we did not anticipate. Resources are limited, we have to reallocate. So that was already, it was something that started a while back. This is just the lagging indicator of a trend that started a long time ago. And also, looking at it from the perspective of, even if in the NGO world, you always have to keep on pivoting. So if the problems of the 1990s were education, or if the problems of the 1990s were focused on a lot of orphans who were orphaned because of the AIDS problem, they did not have parents, and maybe that in 2024 that has changed in terms of the dynamics are different. Maybe the problems of today, the most pressing problems of today are not the most pressing problems of the 90s. Then there's also a need to evolve and always evolve and address where the biggest problem is, maybe, which is something to think about.
Then the second question was, of course, there's currently a debate or some back and forth about the Coffee Development Authority. But maybe we can discuss that at another time. Tell me a little bit more about what have you been doing in the past that's determining what you're doing now, like in terms of influences. Is there an experience you had in your schooling that's determining what you're doing now? Is there? You mentioned before that you, for example, had done information technology. Do you think that has a bearing on what you're doing right now?
It's an interesting one because I did information technology as my first degree, but I never really practiced besides the experimental work of, let me go and do some HTML coding. I don't know if that is still relevant now.
It still is. It's still more than that.
I would say it has been an influence, but not a major one.
Okay.
Not a major one. As I said, as I was explaining before, my major influences have been more on the immersive side of work rather than on the side of this is what I've been educated on at school. So it's more learning from real world experiences, rather than I've done this, and this is because I studied this. This is what is going to influence my path. But there are some things that I still carry. The aspects of project management is very important. Teamwork, when you're coding, working on something, very important. So I think those are some of them.
Okay. Now, in terms of your work at the EUVCA, what were your observations in terms of what does the landscape look like for venture, for finance, for technology ecosystem?
Uganda or Africa?
Uganda to begin, and maybe Africa, just in brief.
The landscape for tech.
Or maybe just for investment in general. What are the promising areas?
Well, in terms of, I'd say what the trends that are happening from the investment flow side, and not in context, because if you look at tech, private equity has two arms. It has what we call private equity itself, which is under the broader umbrella of private equity, and venture capital. So venture capital is the more riskier version, and the riskier and the more, the venture capital is what invests in ideas, bold visions and concepts that could potentially change systems and change that is venture capital. So then the landscapes then differ. It's a different beast. And so for venture, that particular component of private equity, which is the venture capital side, most of the investments, for private equity, most of the investment flows that are intermediated have been from East African focused funds that are investing in promising opportunities but that have track record already. Maybe a business that has been doing well for a while and maybe is looking to grow regionally. The venture is more the risk-taking component. So most of the venture from the time that we were looking at the trend, we started seeing venture become more prominent after, let's say, maybe 2020. Venture investing in African tech. And I'll say Uganda, I don't want to say Africa because maybe it's different for other countries. I don't say data, but the trends started becoming obvious in 2020 in terms of, okay, there's some startups that are receiving money, interesting. That is 2020. 2021 it picks up, oh my, this is actually a thing. 2022 just flipped, because in 2022 now we're seeing venture capital investments in tech mostly outstripping the traditional private equity investments in terms of volume. So they in a way that money had, flipped the status quo of what we had been seeing before. I guess what was driving it was pandemic. Now everyone is at home. Now apps are a thing. So there was a quantum leap in adoption of app-based solutions. Whether it is an app-based solution to finance, fintech, app-based solution to shopping, e-commerce. You're at home, you cannot move. Therefore, it was easier for those tech companies to start getting a bit of traction, as well as they're working on a different dynamic than post-pandemic, where it's, where do I have to go to a supermarket? Okay, I'll spend, the app will charge me a service charge, but if I jump on a border for 5,000 to town, to a supermarket, then jump on a border for 5,000 back home, that is 10,000. The app is charging me less than that at the comfort of my home. So it's that paradigm shift which was accelerated the market adoption of those, because investors are investing in promise in terms of, is this product or solution promising commercially. And so because of that, then those were some of the drivers of change. And that's also another aspect that we saw was at post-pandemic, there was a lot of, how do you call it, stimulus packages or interventions, whatever you want to call them. So interest rates, particularly where most of the venture was coming from, that was going into Uganda, towards the US. So interest rates were almost at zero. It was a zero interest rate environment. Okay. So then it was a lot of cheap money, and so the venture capital investors from there, they were more willing to explore also with their portfolio and say, okay, maybe there's a startup in Uganda that I would typically not consider, but okay, let me try. So those were some of the macro shifts that caused that flip in the dynamic in the status quo. In 2023, that flipped back. Again, because most of the venture that was investing in Ugandan companies, again, was primarily from US-based venture capital, which is, it has a global view. And so, why, again, the macro factors, without going into details of how the connecting dots. So again, a high interest rate environment to curb inflation. So money is not as cheap as it used to be. So you have to prioritize where you're putting it. So those are some of the macro factors that again caused the reduction. 2023, we are calling it winter. Funding winter. Others are calling it a market correction. We are saying things are over. There's a lot of acceleration post-pandemic. Maybe this is actually how this is maybe where it should be normally. So those are some of the dynamics we are seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of your new venture, Audit Frontier Partners, can you tell us just a little bit about what you're going to be focusing on and how the transition has been for you moving?
So for me, Audit Frontier Partners is actually it's the status quo for me, because as I mentioned, but as a practitioner, where I've always consulting, that's where my track record is. Since 2012, so for me it is going back full circle. It's going back full circle. And then it's also combining all the consulting experience I've gotten through the journey. So in the past, I was working with primarily private sector businesses, or even if you're working with the public sector, it's through the private sector service delivery angle, lens. And then next, I was looking at systems. So it's merging all the two experiences along the journey, as well as any other insights I got along the way. I'm saying, okay, how can I come back full circle but come back full circle with now all those experiences consolidated, still offering a generalist, what do you call it, the English people. So corporate finance for private sector clients, strategy is across the board. Strategy could be for development actors, strategy could be for private sector business looking to expand into a new market, need a strategy for that, or so some of the services cut across. Some of the services are maybe specific to a certain actor.
Okay.
So the advantage that I've gotten with having this immersive experience is I can play in many areas. So I'm a generalist, but I'm very deep generalist. So there's breadth, but there's also depth in each. They call it T. You cut across, but you also cut deep as you're cutting across. And then those will be the focus areas, which we call functional areas. And then in terms of sectors, so as a generalist, also you don't want to limit yourself to any particular sector. You can play across the board, but some of the sectors that we are trying to immerse ourselves in are the sectors that we think will be defining for tomorrow. So there's the basic, particularly in an age of disruption, where there are some things that we know will be there. Agriculture is one of them. Whatever happens, we always need to eat, but also that will be disrupted. We will get synthetic food. But before that disruption occurs, we will need food. It is the basic need to survive. So that is a sector we want to focus on.
Okay.
But also looking at it through the lens of say the I don't want to use it for, but through the lens of the changes and the shifts that are happening. So there's agriculture as we know it, but agriculture as we know it can be improved through tech. So that's where AgTech comes in. But also AgTech has other connecting nodes. You can provide financing to farmers through tech, which is agri-fintech. Climate risk means you might grow something, but it might not pan out. And meanwhile, this agri-fintech has given you a loan that you have to pay, but hailstorm has wait to harvest, then that introduces InsurTech. So there are all these connecting nodes to agriculture, and then there are also other productivity tools. We're looking at IoT devices to monitor soil so that you're very precise. You don't have to put more inputs than is necessary. And then, so looking deep diving, immersing again into those emerging areas of what is a traditional sector. And positioning ourselves and saying, okay, we should be able to be advisors of these emerging areas in traditional sectors, with agriculture being the bigger one. The other one is the other section focusing on is critical minerals. So learning curve, steep one, that one will be understanding that right now the global conversations are around climate change. And one of and because of the conversations around that, we're looking at it in context of how things are changing because of that conversation. Looking at it like EVs next door to where we are seated, there's a charging station. Yes, there's a charging station. It's a signal. Things are changing. think today morning as I was coming into my office, they actually look very nice. These bikes, which the electronic bikes, and for women they are appealing. They have very nice design on the image. So that signals where things are heading. And then there are the other older signals of solar systems and etc. But all these, we're also looking at other emerging technology, looking at AI, etc. All these things are powered through components made from critical minerals. So that's another emerging area that we want to immerse ourselves in.
Okay.
Then the third one is Ratchet. There's critical minerals. I will tell you about that when it comes back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I want a rough idea. What are you listening to? What podcasts would you recommend? What are books had a great impact on your life?
I listen to podcasts. They do not have any. I'm not saying they shift a lot, but they contribute to a lot of learning. There's one we were talking before we started recording. Is it this the Powders Factory?
There's
what was it called?
Africa Tech Runner or Acquires?
Not Acquires, the Powders Factory. There's a podcast I used to follow when we still had Google podcasts.
Okay.
That was being managed by Powders Factory Africa. I forget the name, but it was good to get the African perspective on tech and tech founders. And people were building ideas from scratch. So a lot of good insights. One of the insights I remember getting from there was the importance of co-founder chemistry in building, in successfully building an entity, and how that can alter the dynamic of success or failure. Just that one element. That was an interesting takeaway from one of the podcasts I listened to from there. And then the ones that I follow right now are the Aquarius podcast. I did one. The Aquarius podcast I like because they feature many venture capital investors. So it's good to get again going into massive experiences to get into the brains and heads of how they make decisions and how they go about things. Another one is the full Ratchet. Again, still the investment world forecast, but looking at investment from the side of those who are being invested in, the founders, as well as those who are investing. And also getting into the mindsets, now getting those two perspectives. I think those are my two big ones. And then just for general macro understanding of things, NPR is a good one. They have 10-minute clips. Is it NPR Planet Money? And then the Economist. Economist then now helps you understand things from the really big picture. So those are the key ones. The ones. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for taking your time to speak to us and for sharing your insights and knowledge. Hopefully we can meet when there's been a lot of progress on some of your other ventures.
Hopefully.
Tell us how people can get in touch with you. How can I get your services?
I am available via LinkedIn.
Okay.
So feel free to connect Doris Odit Acheng. You will search me, you'll find me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with anyone through that platform.
Great. Thank you very much.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.